How's it going, everybody? Stefano and Ben back again for another episode of Mando Chats. We're talking episode 5. These weeks are flying by. I can't believe we're already more than halfway through the season. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm good, and I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. A little bit better this week, since we we did get a better episode.
Yeah, it was a substantial improvement, and like you said, it's going quick. It's crazy to think that we've got three weeks left, and then that's it. Hopefully, we're not waiting another 2.5 years until next season. But it's crazy. The end of the season sneaking up on us.
So, episode 5, Ben, is this your favorite episode so far?
It's going to be close with the second episode. I like the second one a lot. I liked going to Mandalore, down in the mines. I like that cool monster that they had. But yeah, this was well, first of all, it's 43 minutes long. What a treat after after last week. Like a full length episode. Um, and this set up a lot. This set up a lot for the next three episodes. This tied in elements that we've been asking for and waiting for from those first four, where we were getting kind of frustrated, saying, "How is this going to kind of tie together and come together?" And even though it hasn't fully formed yet, we finally have a direction for the season. And I found myself, when those credits rolled and we got that little tease at the end of the episode, which we'll get into later, I found myself excited. I think for the first real time this season, excited for the next episode, which is a great feeling.
Yeah, I guess we can slightly put the blame up until now just on them just having a pretty strong ambition about where they wanted to propel the show, and it just took a few episodes to really get in the groove, and they set up a lot of pieces that we weren't sure how they were going to connect. So I guess in that regard, like, they surprised us because they managed to tie in a lot of these elements together, especially with Captain Teva and the G68 scene.
Yeah.
That managed to really put a bow on that whole New Republic scene, episode that we had, and even hinted at some things happening, which we saw obviously later in the episode with Moff
Yes.
Gideon. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen at this point how they round out the next few episodes, and whether or not they can stick the landing and make everything work. But it's looking good.
Some big things that happen this episode. One, we got, the first thing is we got Captain Teva back. Captain Teva's been a recurring character in the Mandalorian series for the last couple of seasons. Toronto actor Paul Sung from Kim's Convenience. It's great to see him back. He gets approached by the High Magistrate to help with an invasion from the pirates, which obviously tied in that first episode's semi-battle sequence with the pirates invading, coming to Navarro and trying to stir up some trouble. And in that same sequence, they threw in another Rebels, a little guest star with Zeb there, live action Zeb. I know a lot of fans of Rebels are going nuts right now online. Captain Teva is actually in the episode for a while. He is obviously the one responsible for getting the Mandalorians to Navarro. And a lot of really crucial scenes happen with him. One with the conversation with G68 in requisitions, and then obviously in his conversation with Din and the Mandalorians. The requisition scene came off, I don't know, funnier than it was supposed to me, because it's really showing, I maybe they meant for it, because I feel like they've been hinting for a while, but the requisition scene hinted at a lot of the flaws in the New Republic right now, and how it wasn't like the old Rebels that we know in the original series. They had to adapt and grow, and now they're more like a well-oiled government machine, and they can't just say, okay, let's go fight the bad guys now, like Captain Teva wanted, right?
Oh yeah,
So
there's a lot of behind the scenes paperwork and approvals that need to get run by the higher ups before they do anything. So it is, yeah, it's we're seeing the stages of it becoming like a fully formed government at this point.
yeah, and while they're trying to form a brand new government and piggyback off of the empire, the collapsed empire, uh, they've been hinting for multiple episodes now that the empire is not fully, disappeared. It's still, there are still fragments of it throughout the Outer Rim, which they're obviously hinting at what will eventually be the New Order, which we discussed last week.
It's going to be interesting how much, again, like how much they progress further into this New Republic storyline, because I wasn't sure, when we watched episode 3, is this going to be a one-off? They seem to be bringing it and introducing it further and further into the show, which I actually like. I'm glad we are getting to explore the more political and government-driven side of things as well. Not so much where it overwhelms, the show we're watching, but it is an interesting factor in this world. Nice little guest star from Tim Meadows this episode.
Oh yeah.
It was great. I always like seeing it pop up. It's weird. I've been watching a little bit of Poker Face, the show from Ryan Johnson, and actually the night before this episode of Mando aired, I watched an episode of Poker Face with Tim Meadows in it. And then I woke up Wednesday morning, went to watch Star Wars, and man, Tim Meadows just invading my all my shows right now. But he was always great to watch.
What network is that on, or streaming service is that on?
So Poker Face, I think, is on. I think in the States it's on Peacock.
Okay.
But here it's on, like, it's all available through like City TV on demand.
Oh, okay.
So just been watching it that way. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. City TV on demand. I didn't even know that they had a.
I didn't either. Like I was trying to find a way to stream it because we don't have. I don't think we don't have Peacock here, right?
I don't think so. I don't think we have Peacock here. Yeah.
And I noticed it on demand, and they have all the episodes there. Yeah. Been making my way through that one.
Yeah, in the US they have like a million streaming services. They have so many. There's
Crazy.
so many more. At least we kind of lucked out here with Disney Plus kind of consolidating Hulu and Disney for us into one, because in the US Hulu's a separate service altogether. Yeah. Captain Teva approaches the Mandalorians, and there's an exchange there. They go back and forth about whether to help Navarro or not. Teva kind of leaves, basically saying like, he's your friend. I'm just here to extend the news with the invasion. And the scene inside the cave when they're kind of rallying themselves up, that was a great moment.
Oh, absolutely. That got me fired up for the remainder of the episode and everything that followed. It was a great little kind of hoorah moment.
Yeah. The counterattack in Navarro, that sequence, it really goes to show. I know we've had a lot of Mandalorian action sequences together, but that one there just really shows how incredibly strong they are as a unit. They were able to invade. Like, we're watching this whole thing play out. It was only like 10 or so minutes, but they were so incredibly efficient as a team, and you're just watching these Mandalorians just invade and just take over like nothing. These pirates were nothing for them.
No, absolutely. That whole sequence, like the action through that whole sequence, and the moment where they're going through the streets and the alleyways, and you've got the minigun up top firing down upon them. Just from a visual and directorial standpoint alone, it was fantastic. But you're right, it showcased their strength working together. And I think like this season, that's something that until now has kind of been lacking. Like you said, we've seen them together, but we haven't really seen them be competent. They're like getting attacked by like that giant alligator, or they're getting their kids stolen by the pterodactyl or raptor. So it's nice to see that, them act like Mandalorians and them work together as a squadron and really pull through.
Yeah. It, like you said, yeah, it's good to see them as like competent. We talked about this in the last episode. Why are they living in an? I know obviously it's it's tough in the Star Wars universe to find as many planets as there are. It's hard to find a space where you can fit that many people. But the planet's large, and I'm sure you can find somewhere that's a little bit more secluded, that you're not constantly getting invaded. It just makes them feel, it makes them look incompetent that they can't defend themselves anymore. So I'm happy that the episode definitely did them justice as a unit, as overall. And now with them succeeding in the mission and helping Navarro, now they will have a piece of land on their own, and they basically will be Navarro's defenders at this point. The ending of this episode really discussed a lot. There were two very small sequences, only a couple minutes long. One of them with Bo-Katan and Armorer, and the second one again with Captain Teva. Uh, these two sequences here are what you said, basically setting up the last few episodes. A lot happens in just a very short period of time. The Bo-Katan Armorer sequence was an interesting one. What do you think the Armorer has planned at this point?
It's tough to say. I mean, from their conversation in the last episode, it genuinely seemed like the Armorer did not believe Bo about seeing the Mythosaur. And now you've got her pulling a complete 180 and fully backing Bo in this one. So that took me by surprise, because I thought that was going to be kind of like one off. Bo was going to end up going off kind of on her own, exploring this path on her own without the backing or support of anybody. But then you've got this conversation between the two of them, and it completely flipped my expectations of what this was going to be.
Yeah, I was thrown off guard as well with her. I understand where she is coming from, if her words are truthful. If she's truthful in her words and she does want Bo-Katan, to bring more Mandalorians to her, I can see that we're obviously working in her favor, because now she has basically admitted, not even admitted defeat, but she did also say, you are the one to bring more Mandalorians together, not lead them. She didn't say anything about leading them. So
Yeah.
she could be hinting at the fact that she wants to lead them. If you're bringing more Mandalorians to me, then essentially, who's going to be their leader at this point? She didn't say anything about leading them. She just said find them. There's actually a theory online that I don't know if I believe it, but I don't know if I'm really leading into it, but because of her horns on her helmet, the armor, people think that she could be still part of Darth Maul's cult, in a sense, and just have a twisted mentality. Not that Darth Maul's still alive or anything like that. She just still have those elements of what that cult represented.
Do you think she might be kind of playing Bo at this point by getting her to gather more?
I think so, only because Bo-Katan is the only one, like she said, that could approach other Mandalorians that are in hiding or running around in the galaxy and unite them somewhere. Where are they going to be united? Right now, they have home turf on Navarro, but it's I don't know how the elements that are in play right now come together. That one being the Mythosaur and the Darksaber. I don't know how all of those elements come together to unite all Mandalorians, or as many Mandalorians as they can find. If Bo-Katan goes and starts spreading the news that she has seen a Mythosaur, people will start looking at her as the leader again. Anyways, so it remains to be seen how this will play out. I'm happy that I can't really predict how things are playing out. We have not yet predicted how things are going to play out, so it just means that they're throwing curveballs at us at this point.
Obviously, you've got that at this point, which sets up a story for Bo, for the armor, for the future of the Mandalorians. that's not even the biggest cliffhanger in this episode.
No, it isn't. It isn't.
That ending was nuts. I mean, first of all, it was like the way it was shot was, it felt almost horror-esque, going through the torn apart ship, the prisoner transport. You've got like the floating bodies and debris floating all over the place. You've got the flashlight from the little probe flying through there. I'm like, where is this going? What is this setting up? And I kind of had my expectations that, as you see, it's a prisoner transport, and you're like, okay, is this finally going to loop back to the Gideon story? And I thought that was going to be kind of the reveal, which we did get, that it's like, okay, he's been set free. But then there was an even bigger tag on the end of that, where it's like, oh, we've got the what was it, the Beskar steel?
Yeah, there was Beskar steel essentially melted to the remains of the ship. Whether they were there because of a battle and it broke off, or maybe the temperature of a deep space maybe melted it or froze it or whatever. It could have affected the Beskar in that way. But yeah, that gigantic reveal that Mandalorians are in more Mandalorians are in play now.
Well, exactly. And are they the ones that, was it a battle, or were they the ones that freed them? It's like, it sets up a lot of questions.
It does. And the people who came to save Gideon could be part of that group. The theory could be completely in the opposite direction here. It may not even be the armor at all. Maybe this other group. Yeah, it's interesting development in the end. I wasn't expecting that. Teva hinted at Moff Gideon. This is now the second episode in a row that hinted at Gideon. I didn't think Gideon would come into play again, but it seems like that's the play right now.
I mean, the more Giancarlo we get, the better. So I'll if they want to bring him back into play, I'll take it.
Yeah, I agree. He's an amazing actor. Fans love him, so bringing him back in the Star Wars universe, I know fans would be ecstatic to see him back. So, and I do think that if the Empire is gonna obviously propel itself in a new direction, which is the New Order, they're gonna need some faces, and Gideon's probably that face that will eventually help move the New Order in the direction that it needs. It needs a Moff, and
yes,
right now up until this point, Moff Gideon is the only one that we know that's still kicking.
Well, I mean, they've done a great job at establishing the character. I know he's not been in the show a ton at this point, but we've got history with him. We've got a backstory. So if he is going to be the one that's going to kind of bring about the beginning of the New Order, I think that's the actor and the character to make it work. So I got my fingers crossed that it'll be him.
Yeah, I agree. The history's there so far. Other than introducing, new Mandalorians, not even main characters, the show has done a great job of kind of keeping it concise to the characters that we know from season 1 and season 2. We haven't gotten too many brand new characters in play. The series is kind of a continuation from season 2. So, if they brought in a brand new Moff, it would be something that we wouldn't expect. We wouldn't have any backstory on this character, but at least Moff Gideon, as soon as he comes on screen, we know who he is. We know the actor. We know everything about this character. There's no need to tell us who he is at that point.
Oh, exactly, right? Especially like we were talking about, these seasons are short, right? At this point, for them to set up a new kind of big bad for the season, or for the series going forward, it's gonna take more time away from what's already been established. So, yeah, I think that's the route they're gonna go. At least I hope it is.
Yeah. I think the reveal that other Mandalorians, or some other group that has Mandalorian Beskar armor are involved is the extra meat that we need, because just introducing Moff Gideon for the sake of introducing him We've already had that encounter last season, so there needs to be something fresh and new to the reveal that Moff Gideon is back. So the Mandalorians or the Beskar definitely is right up that alley, and and sending Bo to go look for Mandalorians basically sets it up for a potential encounter with Mandalorians with Moff Gideon. Episode 6. What do you think? What do you think's? What do you predict? Anything?
I'm going in with an open mind at this point. This is like I said, this is the first episode that's really excited me this season. What I do know is I think episode 6 is directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, who for me
Yeah,
personally, I think has been the most consistent with in terms of directing in a visually interesting way. The episodes that she's directed aren't always the best episodes of the season, but I think from a visual standpoint, she's one of the most creative uh, directors that this show has. And she even did the best episode of Boba Fett, which is a show that I didn't even really like, but the one episode where Din is fixing up the Naboo starfighter, that was directed by her, and that was a fantastic episode. So regardless of where the next episode goes from a story perspective, I think it's going to be really well directed. Mark that down. We'll see next week when we
yeah,
talk about it. But mark that down now. I think that
yeah,
it's going to be great from a visual and directorial standpoint. And I think based on what this episode set up, it's just going to be a great episode anyway.
yeah. I agree. That episode there, I think my favorite part of that episode, the Boba Fett episode, was the fight with Pez Vizsla.
Yeah.
The way she shot that, it was such a well done scene, well done fight scene, and they're hard. They're hard to film, right? But she did such a great job at directing that fight sequence. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this next episode, adding her, knowing that she is directing that episode, is exactly what we need leading into the tail end of the season.
One thing I will add, kind of just going back,
Mhm.
I love the look of. I mean, he's kind of silly looking, but Shard, the seaweed pirate, the guy that looks like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
old bag of kale. I just love anytime Star Wars does puppetry instead of CGI. It's decidedly old school. It looks better. It holds up better. They did this actually with a lot of the pirate characters as well, having those prosthetics and animatronics for their faces. It always looks better to me, and it
yeah,
just shows that extra level of craftsmanship and care that goes into it. Because you can always create a CGI character, stick some, those motion dots on somebody's face. We're gonna fix this. We're gonna add it in post. But to do those practical effects for these characters and for their mouth and facial animations and movements is just it impressed me.
yeah. Practical effects always stand the test of time. They never grow old, and there are so many comparisons that you can make, not only in Star Wars but other films as well, where you watch something with CG, and then 3-4 years later you're watching a sequel with the same CG, and that CG is better. Um, and then you go back to watch the first one, and it didn't look as good, right? Like Avatar, obviously, is a great example. As great as Avatar 1 CG, obviously, is miles out of everyone's league. But then you come up with Avatar 2, and you see the difference in technology that 10 years makes.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's about like this show finds a good balance of mixing obviously there's a lot of CG, and there's a lot of, it's not green screen, but the projection technology they use for the backgrounds and the sets. But they do a good job at blending practical sets, practical effects with the CG as well. That makes everything a little bit more tangible looking.
Ben, thank you so much for chatting about episode 5. We're only a few days away from episode 6. And yeah, like you said, just a few episodes left, 3 episodes left in the season. Thank you so much for joining me today, and see you next week.
Of course, always a pleasure chatting Star Wars. All right, we'll see you next week.
See ya.